Welcome to the Trailer Park Podcast, where we go full throttle on faith, freedom, and cash flow. We dive in and have the real, unfiltered conversations with industry professionals about buying deals and creating lasting passive income. Welcome to the Trailer Park Podcast, Tom Wolff. So Tom and I, just to give everyone a little brief intro, Tom and I randomly, I'd call it like a weird, intro from above or from God. I called on a random apartment offering just to check some comps and rents and in the area on a mobile home park deal we were pursuing. I think it was Mesa or somewhere like that. And anyways, Tom answered and we just kind of started shooting the bull right off the bat. And then he moved to San Diego from Phoenix and we became friends. And then in doing so, he moved from the apartment brokerage side to the mortgage banking side. And he did a handful of our loans on new acquisitions over the last several years and is now pursuing deals on his own. So I'd like to introduce everyone to Tom Wolff.
Well, thanks, Blake. It's an honor to be here. You know, we've been talking about getting on together since I think you were starting this thing, and I kicked the can a little bit over the holidays. So I'm excited to finally be here, and I appreciate your intro. You know, it was kind of a funny time when we first met. I was transitioning out of the brokerage world into the banking world, and I just decided there was a young kid on the other side of the line, and I was going to be honest with him. And I just gave it to you straight. I think I, talked my deal into the toilet, but, that's okay.
You really shouldn't even look at this deal.
It's overpriced. It's a piece of crap. The owner sucks, whatever. It was the exact wrong thing to say, but it worked okay. So it's kind of funny.
Well, and I was really just dipping my toe into the multi-realm from the trailer park realm anyway. So it worked out. You kicked me back into my lane and I've never looked back.
You don't want to be here. I'm going to sell this building, but not to you,
Yeah. So okay. And I didn't have any questions, no script. So the plan is for Tom and I to have a reoccurring, maybe a monthly, every other month, maybe once a quarter, whatever kind of happens with an ongoing market update for the viewers. And so that was my goal. You and I kicked that around a little bit. I hope the offer still stands.
Sure. Yeah, let's do it. And so I'm taking notes on what my role is here. I'm finding this out on the fly, but that's okay. I like it.
And so, I figured you and I typically have 1 hour long conversations before you and I realize that we should get off the phone. Yes. And we cover anything and everything. And so I didn't really want to put parameters on it.
Okay. Well, I feel like you're putting the pressure on a little bit. Now I feel like, oh man.
Well, we got to tell people a little bit of background on what goes on, on a weekly phone call where you and I are talking deals. And next thing you know, we're down the rabbit hole somewhere. And,
right. Well, I think that's kind of the whole notion of what's a good business relationship is they always wind up being way more than that, and is like one of the things that we always talk about is, what's going on in the world or then how's the family? And it is wide ranging, but we always kind of have the core focus of, okay, what's our long-term goal in this world? Right. And then how are our actions getting us there? And so, we're calling about a loan. And then an hour later, we're planning our next trip to the river, I guess. So, I don't know, man.
Yeah, agreed.
So one of the things I definitely wanted to talk about with you is because I'm going through it right now. And I guess for the people watching, I was at Berkadia. I'll give a little background, I guess. I was at Berkadia for 7 years. This last year was the first time they ranked number one in the country in Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac commercial mortgage origination. So they're the largest agency lender in the country now, and we were growing a lot when I was there. And so, I used to do loans. I structured equity as well, and kind of fell into that role as part of a team here in San Diego, and was fortunate to work with huge firms like EQR and did a deal with the Bartolo family out of the Bay Area with old 49ers owners. And, was fortunate to be in the room for a lot of high profile projects when those were getting negotiated. And so at the beginning of 2020, as hindsight would have it, perfect timing, January 1, decided to quit that nice cushy corporate job and start buying my own apartment buildings with our family's management company that's been in business for 30 years. And so anyway, we've got our first deal in contract. And so it's a sweetheart little 64 unit building in Tucson, Arizona. That's where we're headquartered. In Blake, we just sized it up again. And Tucson's a sub 5 cap market now. And that's one of the things I wanted to get your thoughts on is, cap rates and continuing stuff with, what the Fed's doing. Yields are going up now. It doesn't quite, we're a little concerned with that, but nonetheless, it's still a sub 5 cap market day in, day out. I just put in your numbers, bro. 5.4. Yeah. We're at a 5.4 cap in place. T3 income, T12 expenses.
On your numbers, the current deal that you're working.
Yeah.
Well, that is a sweetheart deal. I love that. That's awesome.
Sweetheart deal. So we're pumped about that. And when we're in loan hell right now, we're doing the Freddie Mac checklist stuff. And so what I used to put you through, now I'm going through it. And it's
Well, hey, now you can actually lean on Duncan now. He's got that down.
Yeah. Well, he sends me some questions on loans. I'll just might hire him over, from you. We don't.
Yeah. He's going to become very valuable. Yeah. I'm gonna have to be beating people off.
Yeah.
Exactly. Dude, he walks the loans through now like they're nothing. And yeah. So,
it's just running a checklist, but it's time consuming stuff.
Oh, well. And if you don't have all the stuff compiled, now that you do this one, you'll have all the stuff that you typically need ready to go. Maybe you have to update your financial statement or whatever, but you'll have it all. Right. And then you just kind of re-up and redo it. But the initial kickoff does take more time. You're right.
Oh man, it's just piling all this stuff together in one heap. What's interesting though, we had some indigestion at the front end getting Freddie Mac to even issue us a loan app. And the reason was, in the small balance world specifically, because this is a sub $5 million loan, it's like high threes. And what's nuts about this is it's all bordering antitrust right now. Freddie is not lending to new borrowers without
weird.
In small balance. They're saying no. And so I talked to the head of Freddie West Coast Conventional, and what he was saying is since COVID has hit, when they look at who's requested forbearance, which borrowers that is have requested a leniency on their payments, they look at who's defaulted, who's been late. A huge chunk of that has all been in the small balance world, not in the conventional world. So it's essentially the absentee owner doctor who's from, Orange County, but has his 30-unit building in Las Vegas with a small Freddie loan on it. Those are the guys asking for leeway. Those are the ones struggling right now. And that's
because they're not professionally managing them, kind of a thing.
Right. Well, they could be, or just maybe small deals are having a harder time because one unit, right? It's the old economies of scale thing, right? Hurts you. But for one reason or another, they're restricting it. And so there's this really huge set of hoops and this whole new kind of sponsor package you have to put together even before you go in for quote, just to get an exception. So that was the big hurdle. And so we were looking at, hey, maybe we go bank, maybe we do something else in terms of the senior loan. And it ended up being like, okay, we just need to get a foot in the door with Freddie, and because that capital in the long run is so much more attractive than everything else out there.
What are you looking at? And so you said 5.4 million on the loan term, loan amount.
No, it's actually 3.7 on the loan on a 5.7 purchase. It's 65 LTV.
Got it. Oh, and the 5.4 was a cap rate. Got it.
Cap rate. Yeah. So we ended up getting 7 years IO on a 7-year term, which is nice.
Hey, hell yeah.
Yeah, we'll take that. Well, this is part of the thing I wanted to talk about with you, or just kind of for the benefit of viewers is, in times of uncertainty like this, what are we thinking is prudent with respect to debt, and business plan and stuff like that. And so you look back before COVID and even in 2020, who was doing deals in, let's say, Arizona multifamily, and how were they structuring it? And the answer was, it was syndicators, putting together essentially institutional or family equity, office equity, and using bridge debt. And it was these, high leverage bridge loans that are 5% interest, 3-year terms, recourse in a lot of cases, non-recourse sometimes. But the point is, it was super high leverage, maybe 80% of cost, something like 85, 90% of purchase price. And it was higher interest rate with a loan maturity in the near term. Risk. Like all of those are just cranked on the risk metrics. And so then we're doing deals now and we're looking at, okay, what's prudent? I think it's silly to make the case that doing a short-term bridge loan is a prudent idea right now. And so, anyway,
you can make an argument for like a Freddie floater where
I love Freddie floaters. I think duration is the single biggest thing. And then your debt service coverage.
I feel like we need Art in here. When I interviewed Art, he would like stop and break down our lingo. Right. And so like for listeners, a Freddie floater is a floating rate loan that Freddie Mac originates, and they have a really nice program. But anyways, this is
right. Well, so that's like, how much detail do you want here?
No, we don't. I just was like,
can Google,
if Art was in on the call.
Well, and you would know you're getting the truth because it's Art. It would be very deliberately delivered. Thank you, Art.
I can't wait till he watches this and hears you say that.
I love
the surgeon. It's 1 through 10 in that order.
The surgeon. But I told him that you coined that nickname for him, and it's the perfect nickname for him. It's the surgeon. And so,
but sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No. I mean, I don't want anywhere in particular with that. It's just it's risky out there right now, and I feel like it's not the time to send it to the feds. You got to be trying to hit single stability.
You got to be able to at least stress test it. Yeah. And know like, okay, 80% bridge and the debt's more expensive, not necessarily IO for sure. Like there's, I don't even know what a bridge term or a bridge loan would look like today and given the environment.
Well, rates have spiked up on them, and that. So guys were doing bridge loans like 4.5%. Well, it's not that bad. It's pretty good.
Historically speaking, but to a 3% Freddie Mac loan with interest only, then it's hard to, So why did you guys decide to go on a 7 versus 10 or 12 or whatever?
We were thinking, what would comforts do?
No way.
No. What we were, frankly, we wanted to go with a Freddie Mac floating rate loan because it provides, and we didn't, obviously, the Freddie Mac floater provides the term, which is, how long, we can ride through a storm, and that's why duration's important, but you get the flexible prepay, which allows us to sell if things go well soon.
Yep.
The problem is small balance doesn't have that. And so
what is small balance threshold again?
About 5 million in proceeds. You can call the conventional guys and maybe if it's in the 4s or something and say, hey guys, we do a lot of bigger ones. Let's do this small one together this one time kind of thing. And, it's a guideline, not a hard set in stone rule, but 5 million plus or minus. So we were at 3.7, maybe 4.0 if we pushed leverage. And so we weren't going to get there. So we were stuck in small balance world. And, it's a really juicy deal with a lot of value add. And so we didn't want a 10-year or a 12-year because it's likely we're going to be in a position to monetize some profit sooner. But it's that duration thing. It's the fact that we're in the storm right now in every single way you look at it. And it just doesn't seem smart to put all your eggs in the basket of, hey, this is gonna, go above and beyond expectations, right off the get-go. So let's put a bridge loan on. And the other reason, honestly, Blake, was this thing, it's in a great location. We're getting in at a great basis.
Cash flow. Stick it out a little longer than your 5-year, whatever.
Exactly.
5-year term.
Right, exactly. It's a perfect asset to just juice cash flow on it. And so, in my background, I started actually at the family management company before I joined Berkadia in 2013. And then, I've been in multi for like 10 years. It started in 2010. And over that time, every single person I've seen that's, let's say, built the most wealth and at the same time delivered themselves the best quality of life. And what I mean by that is like time with family, freedom from obligations, you don't need to be calling all the time to make money like you do as a broker. All of the people who were at the top of that kind of success, as I define it, were long-term holders. They were not the flippers, and so the people who flip are essentially making themselves into high paid managers because they always have to be cycling through the equity. They always have to be going through a business plan. And it's a great way to make chunks of money when you're a new business. And the money's
good. So you could get excited about it. And I get that. That's
right. And so
you can make a couple $1 million pretty quick.
Don't get me wrong. We will execute that business plan on the right asset, but I don't think that's proper to just execute that strategy exclusively. I think it's good to try to find some other assets that'll align better for a longer term hold, kind of a cash flow profile, maybe, newer, nicer, less work to do. Doesn't have to be. But so, just kind of round out long-winded answer to your, why did we pick a 7-year loan? Well, it's all of those things, it really is, but it's the mix of the cash flow.
I forgot my original question.
Yeah. It was, why'd you go with the 7 years? So there's kind of the funny, that's a great little, microcosm of commercial real estate. You ask one question.
There's a lot of reasons to why. And I think it's important for people to know, you can play this game at whatever level you want to. And that's what you mentioned is more of what I'm after. And I know people that are actually long-term hold and just going just bonkers right now, buying a ton of stuff, because if you build your game for long-term hold and you go raise money for long-term hold, it takes a little bit more time to boot it up and get it's like a turbo lag. It lags a little bit, but then once it starts spinning and it gets some momentum behind it, you can raise money and you can go, and you're not held to the flipper quick turn cash and the equity that you have to repay all the time. And so I think it's wise. And I'm stoked to hear you say that, because this is a marathon. I mean, why run a sprint when you can run a marathon for 30 plus years and enjoy the ride? And then at the end of 30 years, you're like R&V and you're like Jerry and you're chilling. And I saw him, he was at Tony Robbins' birthday. I saw him in a little clip up on stage as one of the top donors for saving children on the Underground Railroad. I was
Jerry. Yes, that's awesome. Good for him.
So man, like why? Why play the quick flip game and be like your hair's on fire every day?
There's, for one, it's if you like adrenaline, I will say that's the way to live life like a broker. You're just out chasing, and so one thing I can give a little perspective on the different avenues of commercial, which not most people haven't worked management, which is thankless, brokerage, which is a grind, banking, which is cushy, and principal, which is a little bit of it all, and so I'll tell you first, I think brokerage is the most fun. I really do. Just in terms of day in, day out, if you're a competitor and you want to go kick somebody's teeth in and you want to go win and you want to go, just.
And the competition among the guys in the office and all that.
Right. If you want that kind of situation and that's what you thrive on, there's nothing better than brokerage. It's just a blast. You have a ton of fun every day, but at the same time, the flip side of that is it's a very high stress, a lot of people would say toxic work environment these days, where, we had when I was a broker, we had analysts, we hired one lady, poor thing. She lasted 10 days. And on day 11, didn't come in. We're like, what's going on? It's weird. And day 12, we get an email. I quit. I can't take it. This is too intense. I can't handle the workload. And bye. So she lasted 2 weeks and then quit. We had one guy get hooked on painkillers and quit. We had another guy go rogue, wind up in the desert on drugs, and he got fired. One guy was hearing voices. He was I'm not making any of this up. One guy was hearing voices and he was standing behind my desk, like right here, Tom, do you hear that voice? Tom, do you hear that voice? As I'm trying to like sell a building, and this guy's just freaking out, man. And he had claimed he got, robbed in freaking Bullhead City. We were selling a building in Bullhead City, and he claimed a homeless man had stolen his wallet after a property tour we sent him out there to do. And then he like disappeared. He got lost, in a rainstorm in between some Bullhead City and Phoenix, and like crazy stuff. And
I think they grow weed in between Bullhead City and Phoenix. He probably found the dispensary.
Probably peyote, dude. That guy he was out there, man. And so, the brokerage world can get intense in that sense. And so you've got to, because think about it this way. The second you stop picking up the phone, calling people, selling people, delivering your best work at the quickest amount of time every single day, you make no money. And then not only that,
what I never loved about the concept, because I got my real estate license and started down the road of residential. And I had a couple family friends that would kind of show me the ropes. And I did like 2 or 3 like townhouse condo transactions when I was like 18, 19. And I made,
how did you even get yourself in that situation?
Well, I had to make a couple bucks before we bought our first trailer park.
Yeah, of course you did.
So I made a couple commissions but I never loved sipping on principal. Like the concept long term, like sure, when you're a kid, like cool, you make 10 grand and it's a meaningful amount of money per transaction, but then you're sipping on principal and you're consuming principal with your bills. And I just didn't like that as a plan.
It's just wages. I mean, like you got to grind for your commission, but then don't even get me started on the taxes. You're paying, it's trailer park. We say what we want. So that's brutal. Then the banking is boring, but easy, and not, I hate saying it that way, but all you're doing is you got to sit there. It's the same drill though. You sit there on the phone, you talk to guys and you convince them, to use you. The huge difference that cannot be overstated enough, the difference between brokerage and banking is in brokerage, you're trying to take somebody's beloved asset that they've poured their blood, sweat, and tears into, and you're trying to convince them to get rid of it, and you're saying,
this is why you should move on.
Yeah. And so like, go pour your blood, sweat, and tears into something else. Your time here is done. That's hard, and so it takes, a different type of relationship. Whereas in the banking side, you're picking up the phone and you're saying, Blake, let me give you $10 million. Blake, let me give you $10 million at a lower interest rate than the other guy.
And I'll do the math for you. I'll tee it all up. I'll show you why you should maybe even pay a little prepay on your current loan. And here's, we can give you some dry powder and you can go buy another deal.
Exactly. So it's such an easy thing. And people are forced into the market. So if you have a loan, this is something for the kids at home, right? They're 10-year loans, 7-year loans, 12-year loans, whatever.
We did a lot of fives, like 5-10 years ago.
Exactly. And so, but the difference is they're all sitting on much longer amortization schedules. Like most of them, agency loans sit on a 30-year amortization schedule. Banks maybe 20 or 25. What that means is you've got 10 years to pay off a loan that's on a schedule that it's going to take 20 or 30 years to pay off. So you get to the end of your term, no matter what, you've got to refinance that thing. You're forced back into the market to put a new loan on that property, or you've got to sell it, right? And so that's what's great about being a banker. You're giving people money and they're forced into the market. They're forced to talk to you. So
whether they refinance with you or somebody else, they're going to refinance.
They're going to refi, and so whereas they're not always going to sell, right? And especially they're not always going to sell early. And so banking, if you can get yourself a desk, that's probably the hardest thing is, hey, how do you delineate yourself, become a producer? That's probably the hardest. And then once you do it, holy smokes, man, you can just get in there but it's freaking blocking and tackling. It's the same thing every day. Hey, I could get you a 10-year fix, 30-year RAM, 5 years IO, 70% LTV. Thank you very much. Bye. I just can't do that. That's not me.
And when you're a deal guy and you want a little bit of that, like that was a pretty harsh, with your describing that is a pretty diverse jump from, or a heavy in contrast, let's say, from brokerage to the debt side, to the mortgage banking side. Cause you from like your hair is on fire, adrenaline, chasing deals, and then you lock in a listing and you're stoked and then you go do it again, versus just doing your thing and falling into kind of just a cruise mode.
Right. You can tell I'm biased. And so it's nice that you're there to,
but now you're on the deal side and you get all of it. You get the whole spectrum. Cause like when you get a deal locked in, that's a high. When you get a deal in contract, or like when you negotiate and then you get it inked, like you're freaking stoked, and then you're nervous because you got to go raise the money. So it's it's like an adrenaline rush to get the deal in escrow. And then you gotta, holy shit, I got to raise all the money. And it's like it's a roller coaster. And then you get it. And then my thing that I'm working on is then you get a deal closed and I'm like, all right, let's go to the next one. Well, it's like, well, wait, we need to set up the game plan on the deal we just closed. And so, we're creating all those mechanisms to just have a quick meeting. We actually are doing a spreadsheet of every deal we do. We throw into like the execution of every little piece of it, the first 5 years of rent increases that we believe we can hit, what's our game plan for how many spaces we're going to occupy and by when, and set all the deadlines and stuff. So when we communicate the deal from deal mode, and then you'll have to do this with your dad or like with your management team, but like you have all these things in your head of like, here's how we're going to execute on this deal. And then you have to transfer the ball over to your team to manage it. And you got to make sure you communicate every little piece of the deal that you were planning on doing, or else they just kind of go, well, cool. All right, we'll collect the rents and go down the road.
Right. Oh man, you should, if I could share my screen right now, you would see that I've got about a 50-line CapEx budget, and we're itemizing when each thing is, how long it's going to take to complete, what the lead time to get the parts are, when we want it to get done in sequence of everything else, who the vendors are going to be, who's in charge of spearheading it. You got to do all that stuff. It's a lot of work. And I think we're in multi, we probably have it almost a little worse than you guys, candidly.
You have more things you're touching, more like vendors you're probably having to.
Right. Yeah. So I was curious to ask you today, kind of shifting a little bit, with COVID, because we think, here's our thesis. And before I ask you, we think larger units, and for you, that would be just any mobile home is bigger than a standard studio or one bedroom, but obviously doubles are bigger. It's single.
We actually are doing a lot of 400 square footers though.
You are?
Yeah. For like the RV spaces.
You are
a lot of like studio or little one bedroom.
Okay. So that was kind of the question is, we're seeing more demand for larger places. We're seeing demand for nicer finishes actually, which was a bit of a surprise. We would have thought people are, sitting around trying to save money. And so they would say, we'll forego these renovations and we'll take the classic. But it turns out since they're spending more time there, at least what we're seeing is people want nicer finishes. And so, whereas a renovation premium might have been $150 pre-COVID, now maybe it's $250, right? Just to pick a couple of random numbers that are close. So are you seeing that in your side, in the MHC side? What are you kind of seeing in terms of demand since COVID has hit?
So we just ordered 3 badass homes, like double the normal price for a 16 by 48, which is, I think it's like an 800 square footer, roughly, maybe a little less. Little 2-bedroom, 1 bath. Yeah, do the
My
math.
U of A math says 16 times 48 is 768. So
there we go.
Good job.
And so it's a 2-bedroom, 1 bath. It's really nice and open. We had a designer lady, 2x1. There wasn't enough room to squeeze the second bath in.
Okay.
Yeah, and the floor plan, it was like when we squeezed the second bath in, like the master, it really cramped the master. So we said, screw it. We're going to do a 2-1, but that's really nice. And we did a what do you call them? Sliding glass doors instead of windows. We did hard surface countertops, nice plank flooring. It's vinyl, but it's plank, not sheet vinyl. And just really nice, I'd say good quality apartment finishes. And
granite counters, quartz counters.
Yep. Hard surface. It's white. It's whatever. I think it's quartz.
Okay.
And
backsplash.
Yeah, tile, like a white tile.
Sweet.
Like the whole thing. The white, the wood, kind of more of a wood tone, not the gray, because like gray kind of came in and went with the white cabinets and the whole thing.
Just so I'm clear, this is a brand new home, not a retrofit of an old home, right?
3 brand new homes with a single pitch, like modern style roof.
Sure.
And they're 9-foot ceilings, 8-foot entry door. We did standard doors on the inside. It didn't make sense.
That tall entry door that'll be great.
The tall entry door makes the feel of it. And then the 9-foot makes even just a 16 wide room feel huge.
Nine is big. 9's really nice.
So we did those, and everything was like $2-3 grand. Everything we did. And so
I know. Washer dryer?
Washer and dryer in there. Yep, for sure. And that was the other thing. There was room for all that stuff, but when we put the second bathroom in, it cramped the master. And we tried to make the master like king size bed, really nice open feel. You have a slider.
Fun.
So we're doing $70,000 single wide. And so we'll be all in for like 90 grand. And
what do you mean? Why all in for 90 grand?
That'll be our cost on the home after we set it. So we have to set. So the home from the factory is 70 grand, 69. But so we have to set it, and it's roughly 20 grand.
Is your business plan to sell those or to
I'm going to try to sell them for 90,000. And my point here is we're seeing way more interest in a higher finish because the home is the sanctuary right now. So I guess that's my big point and answer to your question. The home is the sanctuary. My buddy Chris sells like solar and outdoor, like decks and patios and coverings and shade structures and change your grass or your rock to fake grass or pavers and like all that eco, like outdoor construction stuff. He is going nuts, killing it. Like everyone's dropping $100 grand on their house. Like just standard single family owners are spending a ton of money. So then I would say that goes into the condo world. They're going to spend money in the apartment realm. Why pinch pennies on your house when your house is the sanctuary? Shit. Well, and guess what? Ditch your car. Go get a cheaper car.
Right. Well, and shit, we're on house arrest. I mean, for all intents and purposes, we're on house arrest. So what people are going to spend more money.
And we're not going to be in your house. Might as well have a nice kitchen, nice countertops, maybe a second bedroom. So I think a lot of people in 2s are going to go to 3s. A lot of singles are going to go to 2s, so they can have like a den office in the second, even just a younger couple, like our generation. So I think that there's a lot of movement afoot. So maybe you do like tester units. Maybe you do a hybrid of your original game plan and a couple of nice units, and then see if it takes. Then hell, run with it.
Well, our game plan is to actually go super nice on all of them. It's on a really nice, our asset that we're talking about right now is on a great street.
Cool. So you can get no problem.
Yeah. The property across the street is selling right now at $140,000 a door, and they're renting their 2x1s for like $1,200, give or take. Right now, we've got 2x1s. We're 100% 2x1s, by the way. So it was interesting to hear you say you're buying 2x1s. That's fascinating because that's always been.
We try to do 2x2, but sometimes we don't have the square footage.
Right. And so I'm really curious if you get pushback on the 2x1 because we think we've got to discount them a little bit. But the point is our rents currently are under $1,000. They're like $850 on average at the community.
Wow.
Property across the street's renting the same floor plan for $1,200.
Yeah. I was going to say, I feel like apartment rents are healthy through $1,000 now in Tucson.
Easily. Yeah. And so we're way under. So we've got no problem there, and people are demanding it. Like the classic rents are just stagnating. Nobody wants those. And we do have a few partially renovateds there, and they're just, juicing. The partially renovateds at that community are up 11%. Just in the fourth quarter, the rent growth was 11% annualized at that. It's ridiculous. So anyway,
you might even be able to do it earlier than turnover too. I told you like the Woodland, the apartments that we manage, we did some like luxury like upgrades on turnover. And then we had residents there come ask for the $250 bump in exchange for having their unit redone. So like,
you're in San Marcos, you've got older people there with a little more disposable income,
it's a 25% turnover. So people stick around a little bit better.
That's you. I mean, it's a newer asset too. Ours is 70s vintage, but it's made out of block with concrete subfloors, 2 pools, super nice. But it's right now the people living there are solidly workforce, and we want to give them the option to stay, but at the same time the community needs money. The current seller refuses to water the grass and does some stuff like that, and so it needs a little love, and that's okay. Okay, so like, who's renting those 2x1s that are super nice? Or I guess better, buying is the right word. Who's buying? And what parks are you sticking those at, by the way?
That one's in Peoria, in a family deal.
Which one?
In McCoy, the one. Yeah.
You're at McCoy? You're going to put those at McCoy?
So we're selling double wides for like 80, 90 grand. And we think we can push that at McCoy.
In Peoria?
So we redid the whole front entry. Peoria has been way better than we would have thought.
Good.
Yeah. And when the rents are cheap still. So like, even though we're bumping rents, we're not like taking them up dramatically at a time. We're going,
they're
like
not
35,
like, where
40
was
bucks.
It? Deserama, or what's the property up that Tyler invested with you in?
It's up on Cave Creek. It's Villa Carmel.
Carmel. Yeah.
So the rents there though were like pushing 500, and now they're like 530. Whereas McCoy, we bought it at 350.
Right. I thought there's a big delta.
Yeah. And so we're bumping rents like $35. So, but we try not to be rude,
35
10%.
bucks. But that's 10%. It's 10% rent growth.
So then we're filling it, and we're getting rid of some of the RVs, and then we're putting nice doubles in and nice singles, and the single wide, the 3, I'm pushing the envelope. I'm getting some flack from Jennifer and Dad. They're going, what, why are we doing this? And I go, I got to try it.
Yeah.
Give me 3 single wides that are badass, and let's see what happens. Cause we just redid the entry. We redid, like, we're making a nice little park setting. Like, it'll be a bitchin', family spot.
Yeah. Okay.
And you got your own 4 walls, your own parking. We're going to do little outdoor patio areas, because we're going to do sliding glass doors off the bedrooms. So you can just exit into the side yard and have like a badass little, maybe like string light little spot to hang out, run your dog. Like, it's not a big yard, but it's a yard.
That's good living, especially for freaking $500 a month. Dude, that's unbelievable.
Like the home. So even with a home at 90 grand, like the payment will be, probably $500 ish. And then the space rent's 400, call it. So you're $900 and you got a badass little spot.
And you own it.
And you own the house, and the rent's just barely coming up, $35 a year,
Yeah, that's nothing, and like, so that's, well, I shouldn't say it like that, but
in pure numbers, it's not a big thing.
Well, and it's an affordable alternative to a lot of people who need a nice place to live, and so that's great, man. I'm happy for you. So I kind of cut you off though. I'm curious, who's buying a $90,000 brand new? Is it a couple buying a 2x1? Is it empty nesters? Is it young people?
So in that deal, I
out of towners.
So I'm hoping with I'll have to let you know, because we just ordered these, and so they'll be in and set, and we'll be selling them in like 6 months.
Report back to me on that. I'm super, super curious.
So my goal is, I'm hoping to pull some younger millennial type generation in that have a dog, like, like normal. Yeah. I'd call it like a more diverse bunch, because
I know people, in our demographic. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, it's all good. It's diversifying currently as we speak, but I think that the last little piece of it is you got to provide a quality, current age, new, like modern product. You can't provide this old country, dinky, weird wood siding mobile home. It needs to be something cool, like different. Like, let's get out of the damn little country kitchen style, Like,
I know.
Time to move on. Like shutters around the windows, like sure, that works for certain communities, certain neighborhoods, but not every one of them.
Right. Well, and if you're trying to, increase your appeal to a new generation and stuff, you've got to do what they like. It's kind of a no-brainer. We're seeing the same thing in common areas. It's people don't just react to what their interior of their unit looks like. For a long time, that's what we noticed was hey, people don't really care what the common areas look like. I mean, as long as it's clean.
Right. And like a good pool area, put some nice pool furniture around, make sure it's very friendly, user friendly.
Right.
Yeah.
But we're noticing that that's actually shifting a little bit. People are looking because the home is the sanctuary kind of notion is so prevalent now, they're looking for something unique, right? It's like, oh, I have a French door fridge in my unit and I have these really neat grill areas outside, and they have this outdoor fitness center, or they have this walking trail, or this neat mural on the wall, or, whatever. People's homes are more tied to their identity. And I think a lot of it is because a lot of folks don't have a pathway to home ownership, or maybe they don't even want to have home ownership in a lot of instances.
They just need a base camp.
They want a base camp, but it doesn't preclude them from wanting something that feels unique, that feels like home. And so they kind of look for these new features we're reinvesting in the community experience in a different way.
On that note, you said a mural. My buddy, and I had him on, Navy SEAL buddy, his name is Brandon Webb. He had like some famous artist come out and paint a mural on his condo. Like it had like a courtyard entry, and he lives in Puerto Rico for taxes, by the way. He did a pitch. You'll have to watch that when I put it on.
I would love to.
He was funny. And like had a lot of really interesting insight from a totally different angle. And he's out buying storage. But anyways, he had an artist come and paint a really badass mural on the interior of his courtyard entry to his condo, like townhouse type thing. And anyways, he's going to sell it. And like, it's like buzzing. Like people are going to come in like 25 grand over asking.
Because of the mural specifically.
He did some cool thing. So like
that's it.
Anything and everything, like, and I don't even think it's that expensive. Like just do fun stuff that's different.
Right.
And like extraordinary. Like, yeah, it's like, okay, don't do the same old shit that everyone's doing.
Right.
Do something fun.
Yeah. It's not hard. And it's just simply the fact that people don't want to live in a brown box their whole life, and it's not like this is going to be their forever home. They want it to feel homey, but hey, if the colors are a little aggressive, that's cool for a few years, whatever, and
right.
It doesn't need to be super subtle, like, where this isn't some Tuscan villa, right? That we're, cultivating here and with these 5,000-year-old murals and crap. It's okay. It's going to be a little edgy, and that's fun, and so anyway, I'm glad to hear that the SEAL has got a mural going in Puerto Rico and it's working. We're looking at one in Tucson. It's a high rise in downtown. It was built as student, and the play is to convert it to market rate because student is just imploding, right? Because of all the remote education and just people simply opting out of college altogether. See you later. So these really, really beautiful properties, sexy real estate. The definition of it is being marketed at big discounts. There's a lot of it in these college markets. Like Tucson seems like every few weeks there's a new, student property that's being brought out as a conversion play. So anyway,
a cool opportunity for people that are thinking about stuff.
I love it. I mean, but here's the thing there. It's a big, big work. And you have a lot of unknowns. So this one's really cool because it's at the best intersection in town. It's right where the light rail and the freeway and the entertainment and the university and the medical all meets. This is literally built at that intersection. And it's on two sides of the street. It literally has a banging nightclub on the first floor. And it's got a restaurant.
A banging nightclub.
It was like where all the college kids went, after I graduated. But, nice. It was, it's super, super sweet. So, and you can buy it, convert it, and be into it for about $200,000 a door, which is below replacement cost for a high rise. I mean, this is like a 7, 8, maybe it's technically a podium construction build, which is concrete and then frame on top of the concrete. But for all intents and purposes, it looks like high rise. And it's crazy on the interior. They have this pool and then like buildings with glass going up. And then there's one huge wall that would lend itself perfectly to a badass mural. And the trick with these deals, though, is they're built for students, which means they're like 4-bedroom, 4-bath floor plans. What kind of normal renter are we going to be able to find that wants a 4-bedroom, 4-bath floor plan? Let alone how do we find 150 of those people that want to live in downtown in a 4-bed, 4-bath? Like that ain't happening. So the catch with these projects is you've got to figure out what's your CapEx play. How do you get you've got to essentially double the number of kitchens in your place, and you've got to strip away bathrooms. You've got to add new HVAC units, right? There are these kind of nuts and bolts considerations that you don't normally have. You got to think about things like parking. Okay, what's our parking ratios? What are city requirements? Then you've got to go to the city, and you're actually adding units, so you've got to permit those units.
Oh yeah.
And so it's
quite a conversion. I see.
It's a big play. And then the last component that's a total, dart thrown at the board, unless you've done it before, is what's going to happen to the expenses, because these things are run essentially as luxury resort living when they're student. You know what I mean? They've got 24-hour concierge. They have
Wow.
all of these crazy resident events going on all of the time. They have elevated utility expenses because who knows? It's all this crazy stuff. And so what the heck is going to happen, and for the numbers to make sense, you've got to essentially assume expenses drop like 30 or 40%. And so that's a big pill to swallow. And so on its face, it's really cool. On its face, the market rate conversion for student makes a ton of sense. I love it because you can get great real estate in great locations at a discount. The problem is this is a multi-year long project. Before you have any idea of whether it's going to work, you've got to empty the entire thing out and carry it vacant. It's like a development deal because you've got to kick all the students out because you're tearing their units up, right, to release it as conventional. And then you really don't know what's going to happen with expenses. And oh, by the way, we're in downtown Tucson, which has gotten completely clobbered by COVID. And it has a bunch of new construction coming in. And all this new construction is delivering right when we would be completing the conversion. And so
I think you wind your watch and then think about and see, if that trades or not,
Well, that's what I know. I mean,
somebody with a ton of money could go in and buy it and do fine. But, when you're trying to work it from our perspective today, where you're going to raise the money and stuff, it's tough.
We talked to a few equity guys and they're like, man, this is the best story we've ever heard, but we are just not freaking comfortable. Like it's just too much to get comfy with. But if
you're a guy with, 50 million in refi proceeds, sure. You're like,
well, this is $70 million deal. So not sure.
you can't put any loan on it though.
Oh yeah. If you had 50 million equity, I'm just saying you're right.
Somebody with a ton of dough hanging around and looking for a good cap rate and something that could really kick ass in the long term.
Right.
Have at it.
Right. No, and it's not a $70 million deal. I was just giving you a hard time.
Well, God, mobile home parks are starting to trade for like sub 3 caps. So actually, okay, I got one last thing I was going to tell you, and then I have to run. Jennifer and I have some interviews, but for accounting. And but one of the cool takeaways from another conversation, another guy I'm going to have on here is, cap rates. Like, what the hell's going on? And he's like, well, at the end of the day, we just need to keep backing into these deals and go, okay, what is our current, get a loan quote, or if you have your thumb on the pulse enough, okay, roughly 3% today, if that's still true, on an asset that can go agency. Okay. And then it's like, okay, well, what are your investors willing to accept on a cash on cash? And that is how you back into your valuation and your cap rate and you make an offer. And I think it's time to go back to tried and true methods of just cash flow and what that's going to look like on real numbers, no fluff and then it's a numbers game. You just keep looking at deals and keep.
Well, the exit is to, kind of the extension of that thought is it's because the exit is so tenuous right now, right? We don't know what's going to happen with interest rates going forward. I mean, there's talk that they could explode up finally, but if they do, the U.S. becomes insolvent. So I don't quite understand how that happens, but the reality. Oh, okay. If you got a wrap, we're good.
Well, but actually, anyway, I have one quick question for you.
Hit me.
$10 million question, and then I won't ask you again because you're going to be on here again. But so you just ended up with $10 million, hypothetical situation.
what's Tom Wolff's allocation percentage wise?
Okay.
What would you do with it? It's dry powder. It's like refi proceeds.
10 mil dry powder. I would certainly put a big chunk of it into real estate. First and foremost, though, I'll be quick about this. I would get into inflation hedges across the board. I think inflation is
over crypto.
I think crypto, for sure, I'd be in crypto with some of it. Bitcoin and Ethereum, for sure, I would get into real estate with some of it. For sure, I would get into gold with some of it. For sure, I'd get into currencies with some of it. I'm a big believer in like the Swiss franc and, a few other.
So percentage wise, 10, 20%?
Yeah, maybe 10% in currencies. I would say precious metals and crypto, 10, 20%. I would get into equities too, because right now, look at what Biden just announced he's going to do, $2 trillion in stimulus. Like, what the F is that? That's crazy. And that's such a crazy amount of money. And so all that's going to do is inflate asset prices like equities. And so you'd be needing to get into stocks. And then what real estate allows you to do, especially in the residential, is you're renewing your leases every year with the people that are living there. And so if rents move, every year you're getting to readjust, right? And so that's a good inflation hedge. That's nothing too crazy, but I'd try to get diversified.
So then how much of it would you put in real estate?
Well, I'm different because I'm sponsoring the real estate deals, right? So if I'm a passive investor,
you could buy your own deal.
Yeah, well, yeah. If I am me, and frankly, I'm probably putting 8 of the 10 million into real estate.
Well, I'm asking you.
Well, but like if you're asking for like if I'm planning for somebody else, or if it's like me, I would probably put like 8 of it. If it's me sponsoring real estate deals, I'm cranking that money into real estate.
Yeah. I agree. Okay, so 80-20 then. 80% into deals, in real estate deals, and then you do 20% across the board.
But yeah, I mean, I think it's smart to have a safety valve if the United States starts implementing capital controls. Look back, 20th century, they confiscated gold. There are things that can happen here. And I think everybody should have a safety valve to get out of the U.S. safely right now. And I hate to say it, but
I'm with you.
So
good answer.
Yeah, that's it. Okay.
Cool. All right, buddy. Hey, thanks again. And I apologize. Next time I won't have an hour. I'll set aside more. Was
that an hour? See, this is what happens. I thought we were just getting going. I was just getting
Yeah, that was a solid hour. See how fast it goes? So yeah, man. So, and why don't we just keep it going? Like, at least once a month, and we'll just do like an hour and a half and just keep it going. The Tom Wolff update.
Tom Wolff update. I like it. Thank you.
Good luck on your deal. Let me know if we can help in any way.
Yeah, well, you could write a $2 million check. That'd be helpful.
Well, put me on the investor list,
Yeah, the PPM's almost done. I'll send it over.
I'm excited to see it. All right, buddy. Bro. Talk to you later.
Take it easy, Blake. Thanks for having me.
You too, man. See ya.
All right, bye.
All right, that wraps up the Trailer Park Podcast. Hit the subscribe button for some more great industry professional conversations about buying trailer parks.